What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Web Buzz Podcast. Joined by my sidekick. You know, somebody got a really big kick out of your nickname the other day, but I'm joined by Mr. Google Nader. Google Nader. I was on a call the other day, and I said that's why it's somebody that knows you from our past days, right?
All right, on.
I said, yeah, we've nicknamed him Google Nader internally, and this individual got a really big kick out of that. And then he asked,
nice.
Does Roger stay awake at night reading Google code or something? I said, you nailed it.
Oh, man. Well, it's not another late night last night. So yeah, absolutely. Looking through every line, man. Always. You gotta always be doing one more step more than your competition. So that's always the goal.
Yep. So anyway, how's the day going?
Going good. Busy, kind of working on some things, some projects, and some things for clients, some content for our own stuff always. And that's why we actually kind of do this podcast, right? It's like we try to kind of do what we teach and kind of get things out there. Are we perfect? We always say that no, but when we do put a lot of this information is just to kind of get you guys going as well, that even companies like us, right? We put these situations, we know what needs to be done, but we just got to implement. And it's all around kind of planning too, right? Having a game plan to kind of fulfill those things and kind of going for it.
So I always joke and say that, you know, we'll really be right there, right where we want to be, folks, when I'm able to turn Roger into an automated robot.
That would be great,
have
man.
An automated robot named Roger the Google Nader.
Oh man, I would love that. That'd be awesome.
But since we're not able to do that, we got to deal with some manual tasks. And that's kind of what we're talking about today is, hey, we can't be robots. We can't be the Google bot. So instead, the question is, how can we get Google to pay more attention to us? What are some things that we could be doing to get Google to pay more attention to us? And I know this is going to be like a piggyback off of last week, right? If you guys weren't with us last week, go back and check out last week's episode. You can find it over at topresultsconsulting.com under the podcast section. Sorry, I'm just coming off of like an hour-long webinar teaching some of our clients on some stuff and launching something with them. So I'm like super amped up. I'm talking faster than my mind can compute what I actually want to say. But it is a continuation of last week. If you weren't here last week with us, we were talking about the people also ask section of Google and the value that brings. And that leads us into this element of now, how can we get Google to really pay attention to us more, right? We learned last week a little bit. I'm going to give some backstory and then I'll kick it over to you, Roger, to kind of set us up for today. But we learned last week on how we can leverage that section to better understand what people are asking and what people are paying attention to because other people are asking this, and how that can give us an ability to create content because we kind of know people are asking this. This gives us an idea of what we wanted to create content around and what we want to use. Now we're saying, with that knowledge, armed with that information, how can we get Google to pay more attention to us so that Google uses this stuff that we create to get it in front of these prospects, these eyes, that kind of stuff. So kind of set us up a little bit, give us an idea where we're going today, what we're taking, kind of where we're taking this journey to on getting Google to start paying more attention to us.
Absolutely, Shawn. So great, Greg, introduction there to today's topic because it's huge. This piece, and I love the way we're doing it. We're going to build on this. By the way, this like last week was all about the PAA, people also ask, situations, how you can get topic ideas for your website, because that's probably the biggest question that we get. We train and we provide a lot of value around what you should be doing, but it's almost like shooting someone with the high pressure hose, right, of information, and you're kind of like throwing it at them, all kinds of gold bars at them, like Shawn and I always say. But it's great, and I love what Shawn said on one of our other meetings with our clients that when we're having it, it's like, but you get off the calls and you're super excited and you start asking yourself, what do I do first? What comes, it's like, what do I do? It's all this information, but I don't know what to do. So what we're trying to do with this particular series is kind of take you through a journey on one of the pieces, right? So if you're listening, you're watching this is one of the pieces, and we're going to build on this. I already have an idea what next week is going to have. But first, we're going to tackle what happened last week. So last week, to Shawn's point, we talked about PAA, people also ask, and all that is, let's keep it very simple. That's basically you having a website, right? And thinking, what do I do with this website? And you come to Shawn and Roger, we say, you need to add content, you need to add value. Well, your first step is to go and find content ideas. And we gave you an idea how to find those. You go to Google, you type in a similar keyword in your industry, right? Whether it be, we buy houses in whatever location you're in, or what's the foreclosures process in, right? What again, your location name, you append it to the end, and you run that query. And what you're going to get, if you scroll down, and probably 90% of those searches, you're going to find a section that's labeled people also asked, right? So those are related topics or related keywords that Google's literally hand feeding you, right? Or what is it? Spoon feeding you those topics and telling you, hey, this keyword that you typed in here are the results, right? It's going to give you probably 10 results on that first page, but it's going to give you that little section that says people also ask. Those are related keywords or related articles that Google thinks you might be interested in because you put in that keyword. And guess what? They are. If Google has it there, is because people are searching for those topics. So you can take those and set them up on a spreadsheet or something, those links. So now you have ideas. So last week was all about finding content ideas. Okay. So I'm going to give you the second thing that we gave away last week. So as people also asked, and there is a website that also pretty much collects all this information as well, makes it a little easier. It's called answerthepublic.com. All right. So that's another tool. Unfortunately, that one you can only run a kind of a search or kind of ask a question to see what other related stuff. Only I think 1 or 2 times, and then they start charging you, right? So the manual way, which I like to do more because it's the real time kind of information that Google's providing, is the manual way. Go do your keyword research, look at the people also ask section, and take the information from there, because that's literally the information coming from the source being Google in this case. Okay. So that's what we covered last week. Now, how are we coming in this week? What are we going to be talking about this week? Now we're going to be talking about, what do you do with those topics, right? What the heck? Now that I have all these topic ideas, what the heck do I do with them? So we like to do what's called SEO silos. So what an SEO silo is, basically going back to the website architecture, how you're going to pretty much structure the website, and how basically if someone were to come to your website, they come to the home page, right? What is on the home page? You probably have a lot of sections on the home page talking about different topics. Well, each one of those sections might have what we call a call to action, right? And it might kind of link to an interior page somewhere. And that's the structure of the website, how the user experience, right? When I click here, it goes here. Is it providing more value? In other words, are you asking, or someone coming to your website that's asking a question, they click on a call to action button and it goes deeper into that answer, right? You're answering all this stuff. But that's kind of the website structure. I'm going to focus on one piece. I'm going to try to keep it real simple. What we try to do is focus on location pages. Okay. So location pages focus on just 1 to 2 keywords, main keywords. And that way you can pretty much get it down to a geolocation, a city, literally a city. So if it's you trying to get, find people are trying to sell their houses that are in some kind of bad situation, or just trying to sell their house fast or whatnot, then you can focus on that city and you can put your keywords. But that's step 1. You have basically your city pages, and let's talk about one city page to say you're in Baltimore, Maryland, right? So you have a city page on your website that's for Baltimore, Maryland. Well, that particular page is probably almost like a sales page, right? That particular page has a lot of information talking about what you can do for them. Basically, almost kind of pushy in a way, right? It's like, hey, put your information in here. We can definitely help you out. We can do this. But most people will find those. But the more powerful, or how you can create that campaign even more powerful, or that particular page to get more people to go there, is by adding value somewhere else. And that value I'm talking about is creating other assets or other topics, pages on your website that get them there without them having to find that one page. And in most cases, people are on Google asking questions. So why don't you create content that answers questions, right? And those are done via blogs. So you create blogs that answer questions, and you interlink those blogs back to the sales page. In this case, your city page, right? Because someone might not be ready to sell their house, but they might be in a bad situation in bankruptcy, right? So they're looking on Google and they're saying, hey, what's the bankruptcy process in Baltimore, Maryland, right? And hopefully maybe your blog pops up, they read your blog, they really like it, and there's a call to action on that blog that says, hey, if you want to sell your house and you don't want to deal with all this, call us. They click that call to action and they go to the city page where it's more sales, basically content to tell them, hey, go ahead and opt in here. We can definitely help you, right? I just gave you one little funnel there with a blog, but what if you create multiple of those? And where are you going to get those topics? We go back to last week. People also ask, if you were to pop in, what is the bankruptcy process in Baltimore, Maryland? Pop it into Google. You're going to get a lot of different information, especially if you look at the people also ask section. You're going to get all kinds of stuff in there. So your job is to say, what do I do with all this information? Do I write a blog about all this? That's where we get into the silos, because the silos have to be structured very kind of strategically for this to work properly, right? So let's look at this. Or Shawn, go ahead. I'll stop there because I'm going to get into kind of the more technical piece after that.
Yeah, I'm going to dumb it down here for a second. And I'm going to explain kind of how I think of silos for the website. And tell me if I'm like way out in left field or something with this thought. Silos to me are like the funnel marketing to Google. Right? If I'm going to use funnels to funnel a individual, a prospect, a customer through a journey to doing business with me, whether that be funnel them through to eventually get them to an appointment calendar to book an appointment with me, funnel them through my book, for example. You know, they land on a page, they get information about the book, they go to another page where they're able to purchase the book, then they're going to go to another page where they're going to hit a thank you page or a confirmation page, or maybe I have an upsell in there, right? This concept of funnel marketing, step by step by step by step, it's almost like we're funnel marketing to Google. This is how we get them to pay attention to us. We take them through a journey, they being Google, and kind of guide them through how does this whole thing work. And by doing that, we now are able to guide the customer through a funnel process, in essence, by, to what Roger just said, somebody's on a blog that then leads them to another piece, to another question that they had, that then leads them to this other one that has another question that eventually gets them back to the location page or the service page, right? A foreclosure page, a bankruptcy page, a probate page, whatever the case is. But we're going to funnel them there, leveraging value before we get them there. And when we structure this the right way, Google understands it. We basically put Google through the whole process, hence why they pay more attention to us. Let me know. Thoughts?
No, you basically nailed it right there. If you guys want to comment in the comment section, see what your thoughts are around there. But I think Shawn basically nailed it right there, because it is, I mean, I nerd out on this, right? So I'll use all this jargon, this technical jargon.
Told you, folks, he's up reading this stuff.
But in reality, that's basically what it is. And then my part here is to make sure that you structure it correctly, right? Because you could potentially create all this content, and I've seen it multiple times, when people go and create all this content, but they don't interlink it. Basically, the structure is not connected correctly. The interlinking to associated other pieces of content. What I mean by that, I'm kind of try to kind of get all that jargon out, but you have a blog post about foreclosure, right? And you have a situation that another blog where you got more in detail about a particular situation. Those two should have hyperlinks to each other. That's all I mean. That's interlinking. So Google, when it scans your website, it goes, oh, foreclosure. And then, oh, you got multiple additional blog posts about talking very specific situations. And all these are interlinked. It scans all that. And I was like, man, these guys must be an expert around this foreclosure topic, because look at all this content.
So basically you're saying our website should be like the town or the city of Venice, Italy. A bunch of islands interlinked by bridges.
Boom. Nailed it.
With waterways in between it all. We're just giving them the bridge to safely get from this one to this one.
Oh, man. You should drop some gold there. It's a bridge. You're bridging the associations together. That's all you're doing.
Here you go.
Nice.
Finally got a gold bar moment for myself.
There you go, man. If I had the button, I'd be clicking that thing.
That's why we don't give them the button.
Oh man, I wouldn't stop. So yeah, I love how you kind of explain that, just bridging everything together. But what I mean, the mistake, right? Because some people will go out there and just go gangbusters, right? Creating all this content, get excited about it. Shawn and Roger said to do this, and they go and do it, but yet they create these pages on their websites, and there's no association back to the structure. When you don't have interlinking situations happening, and you created almost like the old-fashioned landing pages, where it was a one page and it really has no links to it, nothing interlinking out or in or anything like that. That's what we call an SEO. That's what we call an orphan page. That's the worst thing you can do, because then
And we did a whole episode on why those are terrible and why Shawn hates it and all that stuff. So go listen to that one.
that was actually kind of fun. You want some entertainment? Go listen to that one. That was yeah, you were.
I think it was 2 episodes ago, folks. Just go back 2 episodes if you really want a fun episode to listen to.
I had to be the voice of reason and calm things down, but we were good. But all seriousness, let's kind of pull it back. Those pages are bad. You do not want orphan pages on your website. That basically, not that they're going to affect your SEO or any of your online presence. Now, it's not going to affect it in a negative way, but it's not going to benefit it. So if you're putting the effort to create this content, why the heck do you not want it to be positive, right? So that's what we're trying to kind of get across. It's like, if you are going to go out there, put out the effort to create this content, we want to give you the guidance, the correct guidance on how to make it benefit your effort, right? For your SEO. So how do you do this? What's the best approach to do this? So I have a little formula that I like to use. And it's basically, you create city page, right? This is very specific for real estate investors, by the way, or real estate professionals, because you can do this. And in reality, one step, anybody that does city pages, let's put it that way. City page at the top, and that city page, the content on that city page is going to be very salesy. It's okay for it to be that way. You got to you close them there, right? But then think about the avatars. We use that concept a lot, or that verbiage, the avatar. What the heck is an avatar? Your ideal client. Who is your ideal client? Who are you? Who is your target audience, right? That is what an avatar is. So an avatar can be, you can look for demographics, you can look for, areas where they're located. But in this case, we're going to use situations, right? So I'm going to use my avatar as someone that is in Baltimore, Maryland, and that is going through foreclosure, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have my city page that's talking about me buying houses for cash in Baltimore, Maryland. And then I'm going to create a blog that talks about what is the bankruptcy process in Baltimore, Maryland, right? And I'm going to create that blog. Boom. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that the blog is then interlinked with my city page in Baltimore. That's step one. That general blog, because I try to keep it as general as possible. What's the process, right, of foreclosure in Baltimore, Maryland? So that's the first one. That's what's called a category blog, right? So I call that the category. And then what I try to do through my research, I'm not saying that it's simple, right? I'm saying it does take a little bit of work. But your next step is to go to your PAA, your People Also Ask list, your information that you got from answerthepublic.com, right? Look at that and see, what are the questions, additional questions that people are asking about the foreclosure process in Baltimore, Maryland, right? And you start creating kind of very specific situations. And those situations fall under the category. So those I like to call articles, independent articles for that. And when I create those, I then interlink the articles, right? The very specific foreclosure situations of a person, and interlink them to the general one, the process one. And then, because the process one is interlinked with the city page. So you're creating, essentially, if you start looking at it, it's almost like a triangle or a silo, right? Everything is siloed and nicely organized. Because if you didn't know, when Google or Googlebot or RankBrain, whatever you want to call it, right? Those are all names to this. When Google scans your website, when it scans your website, it's looking for links. It's looking for bridges. I love that you said that, Shawn. It's looking for bridges, how one article is bridged with the next one, bridged with the next one. And not only that, what is the association with it, right? And that's when we start associating it with geo type keywords. And it's like, hey, this is it. And that's how you start becoming the authority, right? The expert. And not just in general with Google. That's how it starts making those decisions. Who is the best person for these questions for this particular searcher, right? And that's how you create the silos. So I'll go ahead and kind of stop there, Shawn, see if you have anything from that.
No, I don't have anything specific on this one, but maybe let's elaborate a little bit more on the value to Google. Like, why it makes sense from a user standpoint. And we talked about this on past episodes. This is a big update to Google, is the user experience. And maybe that's why it's so valuable to Google, is that's what it does, is help that user experience. But maybe go just a little bit deeper. Like, why should somebody spend the time to think about it? Because I get it. It's a lot of work to sit there and be like, all right, I'm going to write this blog, but then I got to think about, can it tie to this blog? But then can that blog tie to this? And then how do all of these eventually get that person back up to my primary sales page, in essence, my location page, right? Where I really ultimately want them at, but I need to show value to get them there. User experience, this makes sense. I'm slowly educating, slowly guiding, right? Continually providing the Wikipedia effect, from an information standpoint. But talk more specific to the actual code. Now, without getting too nerded out, I guess, on this, but just to the code end of things, like, why does Google love this? And why is this almost like a cheat code if you're going against somebody who's built on a platform that can't do this or doesn't do this?
Absolutely. So see if I can answer this, because there's multiple ways to answer this question. I'm going to do it my way. There's probably other information out there, and it's great. All the information is great, right? It's good to consume, but it's good to also follow up a path. So I'm going to give you our path, right? So basically, the way I like to structure or explain that is basically everything that we're creating is signals, right? It goes back to signals. How many signals are we putting out there digitally? And to Shawn's point, in the code, what we're talking about is there's very specific keywords. There's very specific tags or HTML tags that we surround those keywords with. There's very specific links that we create for those pages. So there's a whole kind of technical piece behind it. And if you don't have these pieces in place, first of all, if you don't have that content, you don't even have the opportunity to create those technical pieces for it, right? So you're already losing. So what it comes down to, when you have everything set up and you have all this content and it's optimized, that's what it's called. You optimize it correctly for Google. Basically, the code is correct and everything, which is what we're going to probably talk about next week, how to structure a blog, right? The correct way. But in this case, you already have it's there. Now Google understands your content at a very high level, and it associates everything together. You created multiple signals, but not only that, you created also assets that you can then utilize for other platforms outside of the website that will create additional signals. I'm going to stick with the signals answer because that's what creates the amplification of your brand and makes you the authority compared to your competition. Let's compare two websites. Maybe you have two awesome websites. They both have great content, right? City pages. They probably have, one blog about foreclosure, one blog about, bankruptcy, divorce, everything. Same, right? Everything's great. But website number one has all the basic stuff, right? Website number two went a little further, right? A little more. And they created an entire silo with additional pieces of content to support those category pages, right? So they just went deeper. So that website is now going to have more signals showing that they're more of an authority. So when Google has to make a decision, obviously they're going to say, who has more tools? Who has more value? Who's providing more value to my client? Because you have to also think about Google is a business, right? What if Google provided really crappy results every time?
just going to go there with your answer. I say this all the time when I'm talking to people. Who is Google's customer? Because they are a business. Who's Google's customer? The customer is the searcher. the searcher. And if I'm searching for something and Google consistently gives me junk, consistently gives me false information, consistently serves up in that search result stuff that's not really answering. Example, I just asked Roger this question. If he starts talking about why tacos are the best food, I'm going to be like, you're never coming back on the podcast again. Right? Google's the same way. If Google gives me the wrong information, I'm like, I'm not using Google anymore. How did Google become who Google is? Why do we talk Google all the time? Why are we so focused on Google? Because Yahoo, Bing, and all the other ones out there are just trying to play catch up. They never dialed this in fast enough early on to grab the land share of the market. And Google doesn't want to lose that. So they want to serve up the right stuff for the searcher. And by playing this game, I love that you're sticking with this signal thing. Because at the end of the day, the question at the start of this was, how can I get Google to pay more attention to me? I got to create more signals. I got to be louder.
Drop it, man.
I got to be louder.
That's right? It right there.
I didn't have it ready to go. You caught me up.
Yeah.
We got to create more signals. And how do we do that? We interlink more things that answer a similar question, that bring more value across the board. And we make it stupid freaking simple. It's almost like a bridge with a guard and a light and somebody guiding you and taking you by the hand from this one to this one to this one to this one.
Yeah, and there's a lot of examples that we can use in business and life or whatever. I mean, as an SEO agency with us, I mean, people want to know prices, but they want to know what the process is. That is our silo, right? We're going to show you all these things, all the depth in it, and they're like, oh my God, you guys, I don't know what you just said, but it sounds really good and it makes sense. And you guys are must be the experts. Same thing with the real estate investor. What's the point? Is like, I can buy your house for cash. Okay. What else? Right. It's like, what? All right. And then they go to, investor number two. Investor number two is like, hey, let me ask you a couple questions. Let me see what your situation is. Okay. I got some answers for that. I actually help people in foreclosure. Let me tell what situation specifically are you in foreclosure? Let's go into that. I actually have some examples that I've helped people through that. So you go into a funnel, like the whole thing. Now the person looks at you and is like, oh my God, you are the expert in this. And not only are you the expert in buying houses, but you're the expert in my situation. So I want to do business with you. Right. So that's what we're after.
And my location.
Absolutely.
Because you've got this thing that says you're here.
Right.
And you're a local company.
Yeah, you're not a San Diego-based company trying to help a Baltimore, Maryland company, right? It's like that sometimes is a big deal for some people, right? And if you're a local, and most of the people that we do business with is local, right? It's okay if you do nationwide. I'm not saying that's bad. It depends what your situation, who your avatar is. In most cases, your avatar is local. And unfortunately, a lot of people want to see face-to-face, local, how you can help me. Why are you telling me that you know this very well if you're like clear across the other side of the country, right? But if you're here and you give me a great explanation and you set yourself as the authority, boom. Next thing is, if I keep digging on, say I trust Shawn and I'm ready to do business with you. Unfortunately, we're in the digital age at this point. We're way advanced at this point. What that person's probably going to do is like, man, Shawn's awesome. I still want to know more. I'm going to go see if he has a page on Facebook. I want to see what he has going on there. Guess what? He built so much authority with me, but I go on Facebook and I find zero stuff. That's another signal for me.
Or the complete opposite.
Yeah.
You find a bunch of junk.
Exactly. That's a signal, a negative signal, right? To the user, right? So it's important that you keep up with that. And same thing, I go and find them on Google and I find his Google My Business page. And once again, no reviews on there, no value, right? Or, wrong logo, wrong information, then I start kind of getting negative signals. So it's important to kind of stay consistent with your signals and just build up on, not to get kind of on the technical or nerdy side, but there are technical benefits that are happening on the back end. A lot of it, we call it schema markup, that basically that metadata speaks to data to Google, and all that stuff is signals and for your brand and your trust and authority in the space.
One of these weeks, I got to get you to show up with the Google manual.
Oh man, yeah, it's a guide. It's a guide, man. There's always to every rule. There's an exception.
There's an if then but this.
Exactly.
scenario.
Exactly.
All right. Anything you want to leave everybody with today before we start to wrap it down? This was good. This one was good.
Yep. Yep. The only thing I'm going to leave you guys with a couple call to actions here. I want you guys to go, if you haven't watched it, go watch last week's episode, because we're going to try to kind of set this as a series, and it's going to be very, very valuable for you guys to have that information as you're watching this. So if you haven't watched it, go watch that. Go test out your keywords on Google. Find that the people also ask. Just run a couple tests for yourself just so you get used to it. Go check out the website, answerthepublic.com. Run a test so you can see how it works. And then here today, you kind of figured out how you're going to use those topics. And next week, we'll help you guys start kind of structuring the actual content itself. What's actually in one blog post? How should I set it up? And what are the rules around that?
Awesome. And if you guys want a copy of the Silo worksheet that we use a lot with our clients, we give it out to all of our clients. We've done a number of trainings around it, that kind of stuff. And I know it's kind of Roger's like go-to diagram when he's working with the team, when he's bringing on a new project and just kind of like brainstorming around some stuff. But if you guys want a copy of that, just head over to one of the two sites, topresultsconsulting.com. You're going to go there to watch an episode or listen to this episode. You might as well just do this while you're there. Hit us up in the little chat bot that is on the site. That comes directly to my inbox, directly to me. On there. So it's like the fastest way to talk to me during normal business hours. Outside of midnight, that kind of stuff, I'll have to forward you to Roger while he's reading the Google handbook. But just send us a message in there and say, hey, I'd love to get the Silo worksheet. I'll fire it over to you so that you guys can have that. It's a download. It's really easy to use. It's a quick little PDF document that'll give you the ability to fill out and map out each and every single one of your silos for your business. So with that being said, we'll see you guys back here next week. Do remember, if you're out there listening, watching any of this stuff later on, you're not on with us live, we would appreciate, leave us a little comment, rate, review, like, heart, something, just to let us know that you're here. You're getting some value out of this. That's how I keep getting Roger back here every single week, because if not, he's just going to go bury himself in the book and continue to get more results for our clients.
Keep me out of the book. Keep me out of the book.
Yeah. The only way I can keep him out, folks, is I got to keep telling him everybody loves it. Got to have you back. Got to have you on every week on it. So with that, we'll see you guys back here next week. And as always, here's to your success. See you guys later.